Hello and welcome to episode 91 of Third and Wrong, the Cassius Marsh episode.
91?
I do this.
No,
yeah,
don't.
I do this to us.
He doesn't get that respect. No.
We got Darnell Dockett last week. I'm joined as always by Auzzie and Zach. Let's go to Auzzie first. He's been absent a couple of weeks. We are fired up to have him back, and he's fired up to fire off his takes. There's a big fire going on here. Auzzie, how are things?
Things are fantastic. We'll call it the John Tavares episode.
Oh,
Switch it up a little bit.
Gross.
Yeah.
Zach. No, we don't. No, you've got to say your piece and you blew it. Zach, how are things?
Things are good, Steve. Dressed up in a hoodie just like you, and there's Auzzie sitting there with the button up and the sweater looking great.
Yeah.
Thanks for one-upping us, man.
He's like, the merch got old, so now I'm gonna make Steven wear merch and be a month and a half late to the party. And the new wave is gonna be dress clothes. Great, love that for me.
I love it.
After missing out on a few episodes, I had to come back with a bang.
There you go, looking dapper.
Auzzie's the first mover here.
Yeah, exactly. You guys will follow next week. You guys are dressing up.
Suit and
He's
tie.
gonna be naked.
I'll be naked.
I decided to get my birthday suit.
Fellas, shall we hop into the 2-minute drill?
Yes. Yeah. I
Auzzie,
think so.
it's been an absolute disaster counting myself in. I misfired on pressing start. It's been off and on. So I'm glad to have you back in that department.
Last week you guys were late. You guys missed out on the last minute points.
I know.
Just kidding.
All right.
You guys
Black
are killing
80.
it though.
Black 80. Check. Hot. All right. The Browns start off and almost brown themselves against the Titans, but they emerge victorious 41-35 behind Baker Mayfield's 4 touchdown passes in the first half. The Raiders nearly blow it to the New York Jets, but thanks to Greg Williams' dumbass defensive call at the final minute, Derek Carr hooks up with Henry Ruggs for the game-winning touchdown. The Vikings outlast the Jaguars to improve to 6-6. You like that? And then the Miami Dolphins beat the Bengals 19-7 behind Tua's great performance. And the Colts beat a dejected Deshaun Watson 26-20 to take a hold of the division.
Oh. Mitch Trubisky fumbles late in the fourth quarter as the Chicago Bears blow a 10-point lead inside the 2-minute warning. And the Bears couldn't overcome the deficit that as the Lions stun them 34-30. Taysom Hill looks a little more comfortable as a passer as the Saints handle a late surge from those pesky Falcons and win 21-16. The Giants defense looks legit as they lead the Giants to their 4th straight win and hand the Seahawks a pivotal loss that places them behind the Rams in the NFC West. Russell Wilson has his MVP hopes forked as you guys fork the Patriots. The Rams lay down the law against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals as they lose their 4th and 5th games. Rams overtake the Seahawks. As I mentioned, they're looking scary. And the Patriots get contributions from all 3 phases with a blocked field goal for a touchdown, a punt return touchdown, and a pair of INTs as they completely shut down the blossoming rookie Justin Herbert. And the 3rd-ranked Chargers offense keeps the Patriots in the playoff hunt.
Wentz, it's gotta hurts. The bells are ringing in Philly, and now Hurts steps in. Will it be the sparks Philly needs? 30-16 Packers. The Denver Broncos defense puts up a spirited performance against the juggernaut Chiefs offense, holding them to 22 points. However, Drew had plans to put a lock in the L column with a mistake-prone performance, 22-16 Chiefs. Poor Steelers fans and their perfect season. Alex Smith and the football team upset and make me a happy Browns fan, 23-17 football team. Josh Allen looks amazing against the 49ers, throwing 375 yards and 4 TDs and a victory on the road. Is it time to put a fork in the 49ers? 34-24 Bills.
So I realized I took up about a minute and some. So I took a while, so I'm a little rusty. So I started the timer over again just to see how long it would actually take us. It took us 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So
Man.
I took up most of that, so I will bear that.
I like how you started with the Mitch Trubisky fumble and you fumbled our own 2-minute drill, Auzzie. You see what happened?
That was very Trubisky-esque.
Meanwhile, Zach Nagy and I'm Who the hell can I be? I'll just be Allen Robinson.
Allen? Yeah, I was gonna
Pete
say-
Carroll. You're pretty conservative, so you did your job. It was just enough. It wasn't flashy, but it was all right.
It was all right. It was all right. Speaking of Pete Carroll, guys, we lost, Seattle did, to the New York Football Giants 17-12. And in what was one of the worst games I've ever watched as a Seahawks fan. Like, that was just, I was sick to my stomach the whole time. And it was Colt McCoy, who I know Zach loves. But the fact that we lost to a journeyman quarterback like that when their starting running back was out and they still stifled Russell Wilson in the offense was just sickening. But it got me thinking, and I didn't feel as bad about it after yesterday when the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers dropped their game to the Washington football team. So I had a fun little thought, and I was wondering, and I want to get your guys' opinion, and we put this poll up on our Instagram story. So by the time this episode's live, it'll probably be archived in our polls highlight. Anyways, which victory was more impressive, the New York Giants in Seattle or the Washington football team in Pittsburgh? Which one do you guys walk away from being like, wow, that was impressive? I'll go first, and it goes against everything that the poll was saying. Right now, the poll is currently running at 70-30 in favor of Washington. I felt the Giants was more impressive for the reasons I kind of outlined before. They're missing Daniel Jones, and they had Colt McCoy starting, who, nothing against Colt McCoy. I think he's a serviceable backup, but didn't see that coming. And they haven't had Barkley all year, so it's not as big of a point. But the fact that they held Seattle to just a touchdown, which was in, I think, the third quarter, and then a safety, which was to no fault of their defense, and a field goal. I mean, that's really impressive to me. Like, I know Seattle's had their problems on offense, and Russell hasn't been himself for the better part of a month and a half, but I mean, to hold them to 12 points is a really impressive feat in Seattle. I know the crowd's not there, but you're traveling across the country, and they managed to do that. Pittsburgh, I'm not along the lines of that they're a super overrated team. I think their record was inflated just based on the teams they've played, and a lot of their games have been super close, and now they're kind of relying on Big Ben too much. They don't have a solid run game, and you kind of saw the cracks in the foundation from a while ago. So it's not like they went in and beat the 16-0 Patriots of 07. But I thought Washington's was pretty impressive, but they had Alex Smith, who's been playing really well, and they have the pieces there. So that wasn't as shocking to me as the New York game, but I could be biased because I did not expect that as a Seahawks fan. Zach, we'll go to you next. What is your thoughts, and which one was more impressive to you?
Well, Steve, I think you should leave some content for me to say, because you
Sorry.
hit all the points that I was going to say. And I totally agree with you. I had the Washington football team beating Pittsburgh in our picks. I just had a feeling everything you had led up to with that. They rely too much on Big Ben. They don't have a run game. I just felt running into that defense, it was going to happen. And I've always liked Alex Smith, and I think he's the right quarterback to lead that team right now. The Giants, as much as I love Colt McCoy, I did not think was going to come in there. I had chose the Seahawks to win that, even with the Giants playing good on defense and how they've been looking lately. And man, I just got to say, like, the eye test watching Russell Wilson, he did not look himself out there. It really felt like he was off kilter. Like, he wasn't throwing the ball. He was holding it longer than he usually does, even though I know he's known for his scramble drills and stuff, but like every single time it felt off. And man, that Giants defense is real now. But I have to agree with you. Giants was more impressive, even though Washington was very impressive. And I'm so grateful for all the Washington team out there. I hope they hear that, and all the Washington fans, because man, you made a Browns fan really happy.
Auzzie, your thoughts. What do you think was more impressive in your mind?
Yeah, as much as I have been riding the football team wave this year, I still think that the Giants was easily most impressive. The one could argue that the Steelers were a Super Bowl team just because of their record, but that'd basically be all your argument could entail, I think, because there's too many good teams in the AFC. The Seahawks were arguably the Super Bowl favorite at one point, maybe battling it out with the Saints there. So the Giants to come in at 4-7 to just take it to a Super Bowl team that it was a consensus team that would be competing at least in like I said, with the top two in the NFC. so impressive. And without their starting quarterback, you can't forget about all the injury to Saquon Barkley that is their offense. And so it speaks to how Joe Judge is coaching up that team. We spent an episode bashing him in the off season, hearing just before the season started about his coaching tactics. Well, this is why it's the amateur agency, because maybe this guy knows what he's doing. He learned behind Nick Saban and Coach Belichick. So this is something that we're seeing. It's a sight to behold, especially in the NFC East, to see a team actually competing with a Super Bowl contender.
I think with our wrongful Joe Judge take, and we'll take full responsibility for that. But I mean, you just look at Belichick's coaching tree's track record, and we had every reason to believe this wasn't going to work out. I mean, you even saw Patricia, and a big story came out a couple of weeks ago about how, he tried to instill that Patriot way, and he'd come into the meeting rooms and being like, sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. Apologies for all the kids out there listening. This is a kid show, but just coming in there and just really like not respecting his players or getting a chance. And giving a chance to know them, which I guess he tried to do later on in his tenure, but it was probably a little too late. And so when these stories came out of Joe Judge, like making his entire team run laps and stuff, I'm like, well, here we go again. But I mean, it's looking good for him. It's looked good for, Miami's Brian Flores down in Miami. He's been making the Patriot way work. So I think as long as it's authentic, and maybe it just wasn't authentic with Patricia, like maybe he was just trying to do that because, well, it worked for Bill, it'll work for me too. But I'm willing to admit, I was dead wrong on Joe Judge, and it's kind of ironic to see him instilling the Patriot way with a team that beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. It's just kind of like circle of life. But all the credit goes to New York. As bad as Seattle played, like Seattle's played bad games and won before, but the way the Giants schemed defensively, that wasn't an option Sunday. There was no Russell Wilson rabbit out of his hat that could save us. So
I think the fact that when Seattle had the ball late in that game, there wasn't as much hope from Seattle. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but I think that it's safe to say that there wasn't hope for a Russell Wilson comeback. And that's something that we've just expected when the Vikings had that lead earlier this year. We just knew that Russell Wilson was going to go down and score. There wasn't that feeling with this Giants defense, which speaks volumes, I think, about that performance.
Well, that segues nice into our next topic here is what's wrong with Seattle and Russell Wilson. So the first 5 games of the year, Seattle's off to a 5-0 start. Russell has 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But since then, they're 3-4. Wilson has now thrown just 6 touchdowns, I believe, to 5 interceptions. And you can put on a bunch of fumbles on top of that stat. He's fumbling like his name's Daniel Jones in 2019. And just as the defense is starting to come to play now, their big turning point coming in the second half in that LA game, really coming to fruition on primetime Thursday night against Arizona, and then really stifling Philly's offense on Monday Night Football. Just as that's starting to trend upwards, we've had Russ just completely in this offense fall flat, and Seahawks Twitter's ripping itself apart. There's fingers pointing at Pete, Schottenheimer, Wilson, and I think it's a mixture of all 3 things. So to try to make this a little more simple, guys, I want to get your take on this, and I'll go to you first, Zach, because I know you're the big quarterback guy, and I'm curious as to what you think you would let Wilson do. Do you go back to the let Russ cook formula of the first 5 weeks that kind of inevitably dipped into the turnovers a little bit, or do you try to run the balanced approach that, if you're to put a game and a name to it, it'd probably be that Cardinals game Thursday night. Do you try to keep running that and potentially run into more conservative games where you're in it when it's tighter longer than it should be? Or should you let Russ cook again and try to get back to what was working the first 5 weeks?
I mean, going into playoffs, you want to have a more balanced attack. It's that simple. Football is known to have more success in the playoffs when you have a balanced running game, strong defense, and then your quarterback has time to throw. And I think one of the big problems in letting Russ cook is you guys will become one-dimensional. I love Russell Wilson. The guy makes stuff happen. But at the same time, you guys shouldn't put every single pressure moment on him. And we start seeing things that start happening in the New York game where everything is reliant on Russell Wilson and he falls apart a little bit. And now everyone's out to get them. you got to continue to find that balance. Even if it's not 100% balance, I don't think it will be. I think they do need to have a recipe of a little bit more of Russ cooking, just because that's kind of their identity this year. And, you know, going back to such a balanced attack, I haven't watched full Seahawks games, but it doesn't feel like that same confidence is with that offense. And they should still form some of that confidence behind Russ, and they should bring back some of that. Like, those receivers there are amazing. I'm not too certain on the pass protection, so I can't allude to that right now. You would know more about that if it's kind of falling
It's not
off.
great.
Yeah. And it was great at the beginning of the season.
It was. Yeah.
So, you know, they need, it's not as simple as just going back, is I guess what is kind of what I'm saying here is there's mistakes for a reason here, and they have been going to more of a balanced game. And I think there's a purpose for that. And, you know, when you're going from something that's working and then teams are starting to see through it a little bit more, there's going to be this transition, which we're seeing now with the 3 wins and 4 losses. And I think for the long run, you guys working on that run game a bit will actually help for when you are in the playoffs. So I think thinking in the long run, I think this is better for you guys than becoming one-dimensional and pass only when you do get into the playoffs and those teams know what to expect.
I think that's a good point, because you've seen a lot of like the league MVPs, quarterbacks this past decade make it to the Super Bowl and then get stifled, or these guys that put up historic passing marks, and sometimes they just fall short because either they run out of gas or get figured out. Auzzie, what's your take on the whole Seattle's offensive situation?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback on Zach's comment. Just there's no way you can sustain an offense being one-dimensional. Looking at the carries last week, 2 of their running backs, Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, that kind of double-edged sword or whatever you call that, 1-2 punch. Thank you, Steve. Still rusty. They got 15 carries, and I mean, that's not ideal. Sometimes, like, there's a stat for, I'll use the Cowboys as an example because they need to run the ball generally, but they win so much more when Zeke carries the ball 25 times a game or more. And it's just one of those things where you need to find that balance for your offense to get your offensive line in gear, to get them comfortable and confident. It's easier to run block than it is to pass block. So get them more opportunities to build up confidence, get your offense sustaining drives with the run game. It doesn't have to be 30 carries a game. You still can let Russ cook. That was always the issue with the Seahawks, right? Now we need to rely less on Russ. And to do that, it starts with keeping that run game relevant and prevalent in the offense. And then the pass protection speaks for itself. Russ was not himself because he was not confident behind that offensive line in this game. And that's a problem moving forward. This offensive line needs to kind of shuffle around or not position wise, but just needs to like figure it out and kind of get back to the basics and back to what they were doing earlier this year.
I totally agree with you guys. And I think getting the run game going again, like I know as a big advocate, like I was excited Russ was cooking, and my biggest gripe against the Seahawks was the inopportune times they're running. Like when it's 2nd and 14, like maybe dial up a pass. And that was the issue last year. And this year they were passing in those situations. But I think, you know, that stretch of games where Carson and Hyde were hurt really hurt the Seahawks because they weren't able to have an in between the tackles running back that could maybe draw those linebackers in. And it's really confused me. Like Seattle spent a bunch of money and picks on and just capital on getting Greg Olsen. They spent a 4th on Colby Parkinson, who's 6'7", a tight end. Will Dissly was back from his ruptured Achilles. And then you still had Jacob Hollister from last year. Like they have a room full of tight ends and they're not attacking the middle of the field, which I think is, I don't know if that's a Russ height issue or if it's, I've been watching some of like the film breakdowns that some of the guys on Seahawks Twitter put. And I guess like, yeah, he's just his targets thing. He had like 0 targets to the middle of the field against the Giants last week. So it's just really weird. Like, I don't know if he's just why he's so against attacking the middle of the field, if he's maybe a little gun shy because of his turnover issues, and he just feels safer attacking the outside with DK or Lockett there. But I'd really like to see him attack the middle of the field more. I think you can do that by using the run game, right? If you get those linebackers creeping in a little bit in the box, and you can, if they're just playing too deep, too high safety, I think the middle's there. It's just, I don't know what's going on. I'm not shoddy. I'm Steve.
Yeah, that's actually super interesting too, Steve, because you talk to a lot of quarterbacks making those throws outside the numbers and not making those checkdowns are like, those are your easy throws.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of overconfidence with Russ maybe a little bit for cooking so much early on that he's not taking those checkdowns and looking for those bigger opportunities? Who knows? I'm not saying that. I love Russell Wilson. He's my boy. He's Steve's boy first, though. He was the one who first jumped on that train. So, but I really like Russell Wilson. Good comment on the height too. I didn't think of that, but the guy is outstandingly accurate, and mechanics are beautiful. So I see reason why he's a little confident in making those throws. He's great at them.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting take. I'm just thinking
out loud, man.
with you.
Yeah. Let's move on to a situation that isn't as or is more dire than Seattle. It makes me feel better about Seattle, is the Chicago Bears. So I'm choked because I picked them to win. I believe Zach picked them to win. Auzzie, you picked the Lions, correct?
Yeah.
And so I was just absolutely rattled, and I have nothing on the line except pride when I make these picks, but that's an L for me because Mitchell Trubisky had to go and fumble the football. Needless to say, guys, at 5-7 and not being in the NFC East, it's looking like you could probably stick a fork in the Bears, which Zach and I did last week. And Auzzie, I'm sure you'd probably agree. Where do the Bears go from here, guys? Do you think firing Matt Nagy is an option? Where do you think they go for quarterback next year? Do you think Foles or Trubisky are back? I know it's kind of hard to get into the nitty gritty of it because we don't know what the free agent quarterbacks are going to be or where the Bears will be picking. But Zach, I'll go to you first because your dad's the Bears fan.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's January, whatever, after week 17, the Monday after. They call it Black Monday because that's when all the firings happen. Right. Is Matt Nagy out of a job?
Unfortunately, like if this season keeps going the way it is and they end up with 5 or 6 wins, I could see it. And in my viewpoint, and I want the listeners to hear this too, I don't think this is all Nagy's fault. I actually really like Matt Nagy as a head coach. I really think he's struggling with talent on the offensive side of the ball. He has one skill player who is phenomenal. And then other than that, he has a bunch of, average NFL level players who he's trying to create, he's come from a system of creativity and such, but you get so many skill players that can attack those special plays that he likes to run. And now he's running with Allen Robinson and a bunch of guys who aren't, consistently spreading the ball around or making the special plays that need to be made. I love Nick Foles. I love what he did in 2017. He's not the answer, unfortunately. It hurts me to say that. Mitch Trubisky, there's just too much inconsistency there. He's not the guy for the Bears job there. And that's what Matt Nagy's dealing with. And I used to be big on Montgomery, but I've watched him as this dancing running back who hasn't been able to reach stardom because he doesn't have that downfield running ability that he's looked a bit better this last week and a few weeks prior, but it's just the consistency thing with this offense is what's getting me. They've had good O-lines in the past 2-3 years. They just need to start accumulating talent around it. I'm huge on building from the trenches out, and that is what they did, but they didn't get the right skill players around it to make it work. And now Matt Nagy is struggling with everything there, so that I won't rant too much longer, but maybe it is time for the Bears to retool a bit, but it sucks because then they're going to have that defense go to waste in that time. And they have to build up an offense that we thought would be clicking by year 4 of Mitch Trubisky, but here we are. Right. So it's sad. I think they should keep Nagy. To end my statement, they should keep Nagy, build a few more pieces on offense and retool and then move forward. But I don't think that's going to happen.
It kind of reminds me, Zach, Auzzie, sorry, I got to jump in really quick, but you know how like after the Broncos won the Super Bowl with that great defense, and then there's still a couple more years, 2016, 17, where that defense was still really good, but they had Trevor Siemian at quarterback. That's what it kind of reminds me of. And like 2018 should have been their year. They went 12-4, and then their kicker double doinked it against the Philadelphia Eagles. that was like their window there. And or if you even want to compare it to Jacksonville's situation where they went to the AFC Championship and then they decided to give Bortles another contract, and they just like the Bears decided to keep rolling with Mitch when it seemed pretty evident maybe he wasn't the guy unless you spoon-fed him his offense. But
Yeah.
I don't think Nagy's the kind of play caller, has the kind of offense that maybe Sean McVay has. And the Rams, I always equate spoon feeding with him and Goff. So, and McVay's better at that than Nagy apparently right now. So Auzzie, what do you think? Do you think they keep Nagy, and what do you think they do at quarterback next year? If you have any rough predictions, ideas, we won't hold it against you here.
Yeah. I truly want what I would do is I would keep Nagy. What I think would happen, given the trajectory of the season, is that I think because Nagy can't use the quarterback excuse since he got his guy Nick Foles in the offseason, I think he's fired after this year, and I think they start fresh. I would not do that. I'll caveat that, but I think when Nick Foles was traded for, that was a guy that Matt Nagy had worked with in Kansas City, and I think that he was sought after to be the guy. And I was on that hype train, maybe a little irrationally so, because of the pain from 2017 Super Bowl when he diced up the cheeks of the Patriots defense. So I'll admit I was wrong on that, but I think because he can't fall back on that quarterback excuse, I'm not saying that the quarterback's playing poorly is his fault directly, but because he got his guy that he probably talked to Ryan Pace about and said like, hey, I've worked with this guy. He's obviously won a Super Bowl. He's got the talent. With that being in the cards, I think that they just have to start fresh, because how many chances and how many cracks at it are you going to give this head coach to work with a quarterback of his choosing? I think in this league, in today's day and age, I think it's a very short time frame. And Nagy is on his third year, I believe, with the Bears. Correct me if I'm wrong. John Fox was the first year of Mitch Trubisky. So
2018 was the first year. I think he was the head coach.
Yeah, so 3 years. So yeah, I think after this year, I think they'll move on and start fresh. Contrary to what Zach's saying, I think that they do have the skill position players. If a quarterback, like as much as I bash him, as much like a Dak Prescott could work with those weapons and do very well in that offense. I think a lot of quarterbacks could. It's just that you have the inconsistent Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, and they're not really the poster childs of even like good quarterbacks. So you need a consistently good quarterback. Nick Foles can be good, but he's not consistently good. And that's the issue that the Bears have run into. And I just want to say this to end my point. Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles are the same guy. I'm just going to say it.
Auzzie, I was going to say I've never heard someone describe Foles so perfectly. Nick Foles can be good, but he's not good all the time. And therefore he's an average quarterback, I think. As much shit as we give Dak, I think when he's healthy, he's a top 10 quarterback. You can't really argue that. I don't know if at any point in his career in the regular season, I guess 2013 had that 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But if after that, you couldn't really consider Nick Foles a top 10 quarterback at any point during his career. Could you?
No, and that's the problem.
No.
And you can't just go pluck those off trees, right? It's not saying like if the Bears get rid of these guys. And that's the thing, right? If you keep Nagy and say he drafts the quarterback of his choice this year, and then they have another rough year in 2021, it's like, well, he was a rookie, so give him another chance. And by the time you're not hitting your full rebuild, and you've pissed away the prime of this defense anyways. But it's interesting to see what they'll decide to do. Maybe they want to bring in a Robert Saleh. I always screw that up. And bring a more defensive-minded coach in there and just see how that plays out for them. Or maybe they hire Brian Schottenheimer. Who knows? But it's definitely going to be interesting times ahead in Chicago.
We got to reboot. The Vikings are too good. The Packers are too good. Lions are getting a head start on their rebuild. So,
go ahead.
I love that Robert Saleh idea there, Steve. I think he fits perfectly with that defense.
God, what he would do with Khalil Mack, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Zach, Jadeveon Clowney on the opposite side.
Jadeveon Clowney. I'm done considering him a.
I think Robert Saleh is a good enough coach. He would get some use out of him.
He's gonna be a Brown next year, anyways. So.
Oh my God, you guys can have him. What's he done this year with the Titans?
Yeah, that's because he's with the Titans. I'm just kidding.
Speaking
Titans
of the
are good.
Browns, Zach, you guys lit up the Titans in the first half, and people were going wild, and it was just fun to see Baker having fun and really being comfortable in that offense. I just want to get your take on, do you think it was enough to silence the Baker doubters? And are you confident that that version of the Browns can show up 3 times in the playoffs and potentially make a run to the Super Bowl?
Oh,
I'm putting you on the spot, man. This
I
is
love
where
it.
takes
You know
are made.
what? This is what needs to happen. That what you guys saw first half from the Browns is what needs to consistently happen. And that is what the Browns have missed for how many years, is that consistency. One thing I came in and I said early on was it was going to take time for this Browns team to really show what they're made of. And now nearing the end of the season is when we're starting to see the best Browns. And that's so freaking exciting. However, I don't think there's ever going to be a silencing of Baker haters, to answer your first question. I think generally by the type of player he is, the confidence he alludes, or the confidence he shares, is going to have a bunch of haters. He has a ton of haters. It's going to continue to happen. He needs to keep showing up, keep doing what he's doing, and playing hard-nosed football. His mama didn't raise no whiner or whatever he said. I love that saying. Wuss, that's right. And what we saw against, now I want to also say, mind you, Tennessee does not have the best pass rush. Baker plays really well against teams without a pass rush, but when you get in his face is when he makes his mistakes. So not everything was like, it was a perfect situation against a good team to show that, and a team that absolutely ass blasted us last year, 43-13 or something, first game last year. And we came out, I think Baker was playing with 2 Lay's chip bags on his shoulder and was ready to show the type of player he was, and he proved it. The Browns took their foot off the gas pedal a bit in the second half. And, that big play offense of the Titans came to play in the second half. I don't think this second half is alluding to what the Browns overall play is going to be like moving forward. Our defense has some questions. And yeah, I think the Browns are a Super Bowl contender, man. You get, yeah.
Let's go.
How do you say they're not after that? Baker is clearly getting better. He hasn't thrown, knock on wood, he hasn't thrown an interception in 5 games.
Falls.
But he hasn't, thrown an interception in 5 games. He has been consistently getting better with the play action pass. Our run game is getting better with Chubb back. Our defense may bend, but they don't break, and they get turnovers from opposing offenses, and that's what you look for. We're not turning the ball over. We're making other teams turn the ball over, and we're scoring when we have the ball. It feels like everyone's expectation of the Browns is so high all the time that we can't give them credit for what they're doing. This team has been shit for years and years and
decades.
Yes. And now they're 9-3 and nobody's going to give them any credit for it. Like, lick it and understand that this team is turned around. And right now, as of right now, they look like the best team in our division. I'll say it. We're the most balanced team, and we're creating, defensively, I understand. Baltimore and the Steelers have great defenses, but offensively, we look like we have developed the most playoff ready offense moving forward from that division. And I think the whole equation is coming together for the Browns now, and they need to be taken seriously. And that's my stamp.
I'm picking the Browns to beat the Steelers next time they play. I'll say that much. I think everyone's going to point, 38-7. These are very different teams from that game. Same with the Baltimore game. Auzzie, your take. That's going to be an exciting game, Monday Night Football. We'll see. How are they winning right now? Quick pause in the action
17-10 last time I checked at halftime for Baltimore. And Dallas has the ball on the Baltimore 45, still down the 7, but they've been able to move the ball so far. So
we'll we'll keep tabs on that. Ozzy, your take on the Browns? Do you see them as a Super Bowl threat?
Yeah, I was very impressed, Zachary, of course. Baker and co just really, I had no confidence that I thought this was going to be like last year because I didn't think about the difference in personnel on the Titans defense and like their pass rush, like you said earlier, is non-existent. So it's easy for a quarterback to excel in that kind of matchup. And so that's kind of my only hesitation with the Browns right now is he didn't really have that pressure in his face. He had time in the pocket. That's not a playoff environment. Jasper, you can probably hear him right now. He's losing it too because he agrees. This is just something that I think when you talk about a playoff team, you're going to be facing the Steelers who have a pass rush, the Chiefs who have a pass rush. The Raiders might get in there. They've got a pass rush. The Patriots, they've got a pass rush. The Colts, those types of teams, they're going to be getting in Baker's face. Obviously, the Titans are a really bad, or you guys are a bad matchup for the Titans, and it showed. And I think you guys let off the pedal a little too much, and I think that that's fair to say. And it wasn't to say that your defense is bad in any stretch. I think that was just a unique situation for the Browns to be up that much. And like, how do you even handle it? How do you finish a game when you're up 31 points? But as a Super Bowl contender, I'm not there yet. And maybe it's just going to be this speculation or the skepticism that lingers because maybe it's never enough for the Browns. And maybe that's how you feel as a Browns fan. Like, what do they need to do? If I'm looking at the Tennessee Titans, they are not a good resemblance of what a playoff team or a Super Bowl contending team is because they don't have that defense.
Are the Colts?
The Colts, I would say, do. Yes, because they've got the defense. So
and we beat them.
Yes, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
So there, you just took away my point. So now I'm
no, Steelers destroyed us. I will give it to you.
So
yes.
I'm just going to say, let's see. It's a 1 week season. Let's take it from here. Let's build on this. And I'm not saying they're not Super Bowl contenders, but I'm just saying as of right now, I don't personally see them as that way because I would like to see Baker under a little bit more duress. Still, or at least not under duress, but you know what I mean? Like he had a really good, any quarterback can look good when there's no pass rush.
To your avail too, like Tennessee they were actually getting to Baker more than I thought they were. And that's why that game impressed me a little bit more because I did go in with the expectation of Baker doing his 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, but he lit them up completely. They were getting what was impressive to me was Baker kind of looked like his rookie season. Sorry, I don't mean to take over again, but
no, go for it.
The running game, they've been building off the play action pass so much, and Tennessee came in prepared for that actually, and they were having their guys prepared for the bootleg. And there were actually a lot of times where Baker was rolling out and he was throwing on the run with pressure in his face and he was hitting accurate throws. And that's one reason why I am actually kind of excited about the future here is because Baker has shown a little bit of progression in being able to throw under pressure. We'll see. Like the Steelers, they hold like the last 4 years, they've had the leading sacks in the NFL as a team. Yeah. And Baker has struggled like mightily with them. But I think this run game is going to play well in the playoffs. And I think that play action pass is going to give Baker time. And when we know Baker has time, he is a very accurate passer. We just got to see that happen. But good points too, Auzzie. I agree. We got to see him grow when pressure's coming. That's when the great quarterbacks are their best. So
I will say, just to finish this one off, sorry, Steve.
Oh, good.
Baker did show growth from a week-to-week basis if you're looking up from the Jaguars game to this game because he was much more decisive, and that was the issue against the Jags. That's what we need to see more of, and that's why I wouldn't say that it's enough, as the question was stated. Like, it's not enough for me to kind of be silent as a Baker doubter, if I'm considered that right now, just because it was only a week ago that we were just talking about how he needs to make those steps. So he did this week, and now let's see him get on that. I sound too much like Colin. I'm not trying to be, but
No, if you were calling, you'd be bringing up that video with him and the police from 5 years ago. Ozzy, let's turn the spotlight back around on you now. Your Patriots, Zach and I both stuck a fork in last week, but then they go and beat the Chargers 45-0, and then suddenly they're 6-6 and right in the thick of the wild card hunt, at least for that 7th seed anyways. I want to ask you directly, how confident are you, bias or no bias, that this team's a 7 seed and potentially playing Kansas City or Pittsburgh in wild card weekend in January?
Well, Steve, thanks to you showing me the ESPN playoff machine. I had some fun with this. And
love that thing.
I love having a Thursday night matchup this week. If we win, then I can put my feet up and just relax and know that we're not a playoff team. If we win, I can put my feet up and know we're possibly a playoff team. And if we lose, then I can put my feet up and know we're not a playoff team and just turn to the draft. A Thursday night game, though, too, is there's a lot of variance in these types of games. And I mentioned in the 2-minute drill that the Rams are dangerous, and they're looking dangerous. The Thursday night game, sometimes teams don't handle it very well on the short week. And I love a Belichick coach team on a short week in a must-win spot. If last week showed any inclination of what this team is, I think that it showed that that's a 7th seed. Like, it's got that potential. We can sneak into the playoffs after a couple mishaps earlier on in the year. If we don't need a big passing game. We can win ugly, and we've shown that a couple weeks, especially the Cardinals game. I would highlight our defense is like actually surprising me. It seemed like they were giving up yards in chunks at times throughout the year, but the last couple of weeks we've slowed down very potent offenses, the number 1 offense and the number 3 offense in back-to-back weeks, giving up only 17 points in that span. That is something to tip your hat on. And I think that going up against Jared Goff, who does struggle when there's a good defense, when anybody does, when there's a pass rush, when you get him uncomfortable. And I mean, Belichick kind of figured out this McVay offense in the Super Bowl. So I don't know how much it's evolved, if at all. And I'm feeling pretty confident that if we can get past this game with a W, we get an extra long rest against for the Dolphins in week 15. And then we get the Bills. That's going to be pivotal. But we almost tied them, almost beat them last time. And then we got the Jets to close it out. So it's all hanging on this game in my mind. And if we can win this one, I think that I got a dick full of confidence.
There you go. Couldn't say any better. It's weird, man. Even with Cam Newton only passing for 68 yards, I mean, you guys find creative ways to win. I'll always trust a Belichick led defense. I think they could absolutely give Jared Goff and the Rams problems. At a 6-6 team right now, I don't think finishing 9-7 is out of the question, which would absolutely put you in the conversation, depending on what the Raiders and maybe not Colts, but Titans or either of those teams, whoever doesn't win that division is going to be in trouble. They're going to have to rely on some tiebreakers. So I think the Browns are pretty safe now at 9-3. I think they just need to win 1 or 2 more games and they'll be secure in a 5 or 6 seed. But I stuck a fork in them last week. God damn it. I just did not expect that kind of, I thought they were going to lose against the Chargers. Honestly, I thought that would have been it. They would have been, 4-7, and you could have been done with it, or 5-7. Sorry. But here they are. I think it's going to be tough, though. There's still like Miami still in front of them. I can't rule them out. They're still winning games. I'm not confident they'll squeeze into the playoffs, but I think they'll probably finish with a winning record. If that's kind of my cop out. I stuck a fork in them, but they don't die on first impact. They're still wiggling around. You're probably going to have to stab them again. Zach, your take on the Pats.
I'm going to sound super douchey here, but I expected them to win this past weekend. Just Bill Belichick's run against rookie quarterbacks. I thought Herbert was going to struggle, and you guys would figure out a way to win it. I think my fork's still in them. It's too little, too late. And I understand a Pat's like fan perspective. I'm not trying to like downplay that, Auzzie. I'm sorry. I know there's excitement there because like they can still make it mathematically, but that's a big fall from grace for the Dolphins, Colts, and the Raiders haven't looked good. That's their only thing, but the Raiders aren't even in the playoffs right now. And you guys got to overcome that. Then you need to overcome a Colts team who I just frankly think's better all around. Tennessee, who's got a better rounded game. A tremendous fall off from the Browns, and Miami's just playing on a different level with a little bit more of a consistent offense there. It's fun. I understand we're coming off a 45-0 victory. Like it's exciting, but with the Rams, which the Rams are one of the best NFC teams right now. And I think we're looking at it as, look what Bill Belichick did to Jared Goff in 2019 in the Super Bowl. That's the last time they played. And I think we need to look at it maybe on a different direction, where I bet the Rams are chomping at the bit to get a bite out of the Patriots here a little bit as well. So there's a lot that needs to go right for these Patriots to make it, and that's beating the Rams, Dolphins, and Bills. You had a very optimistic look at that as a Pats fan, I think, when you were saying that, and I got to also bring it up from the other perspective. That's a freaking gauntlet for a 6-6 team that, yes, they destroyed the Chargers, but they've had their woes, and Cam Newton throwing 15 times a game in a pass-friendly league. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to do, and I'm going to stick with what I said last week. Not to say there is no hope. I've lived off hope for the past 11 years as a Browns fan, so I understand where you're coming from. I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Sorry, Auzzie.
No,
that's a fair
okay.
take. And to be fair to Zach, last week he did say, for our listeners who missed that episode, a success for this team is an 8-8 or 9-7 season. And even if they miss the playoffs, like just considering I'll say it bluntly, considering the absolute bullshit they had to overcome this year, and, signing Cam off the street and making that offense work, having your COVID list and the injuries they faced, and not fully restocking their skill positions, which is kind of maybe their own fault, but it's hard, man. It's hard to do these things, and they have scrapped together a winning program. And if you did this exact same scenario, but you gave this exact scenario to, I don't know, the Bengals, man, they wouldn't have a win this year, right? Like it'd be so tough. So
I like the Pats. Sorry, Auzzie, before you go. I actually like the Pats this year, and I've been following them and enjoying them. And I am a huge fan of Bill right now. And I love that Brady is one win above what Bill has to deal with in the Patriots, with the Patriots roster being absolute shit, and the Bucks having maybe the greatest roster we've ever seen, and only has one more win. So I had to get that in there.
Yeah. Zach, you had mentioned the Dolphins, and I just wanted to use your own argument against you. Belichick's reign on first-year quarterbacks. Tua is in fact a first-year quarterback. And number two, they've got quite the gauntlet. They're facing the Chiefs this week, then the Patriots, then the Raiders, who nobody knows if they're good or bad, and then the Bills, who might be in a must-win spot for seeding purposes. So that is no picnic, and they've barely scrounged up enough offense to beat the Bengals, and lost to the Broncos, and had the Jets mixed in there too. So
needless to say,
it's going to be, I think that team goes 9-7. If the Pats go 10-6, ooh, we're cooking with fire, baby.
Let's everyone get to the ESPN playoff machine. We gotta do that again. Run a million simulations and just see what shows up, and then we'll know.
Yeah, and then we'll talk.
The Dolphins will just start Fitzmagic just for that reason.
Exactly. Yeah, just for that game, and then put Tua back in.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get to our amateur takes before we get to Canadian Corner and our Week 14 games to watch. We'll try to do these ones a little more rapid fire, guys. So just a quick response to these takes. We have Tristan Lansdale, friend of the pod, my roommate, goes, Jalen Hurts is getting the W on Sunday. I believe they're playing the New Orleans Saints. I think he's going to provide a spark, as he did against the Packers. I still think the Saints win this one. I don't know how close it's going to be, but I don't think they get the W. Auzzie.
I'm gonna ride the Hurts wave here. I
Ooh.
want to get on before it's too late. I'm on the wagon. I think that he gets the dub. Taysom Hill. I think they've got the defensive front to slow down Taysom Hill's run game, make him a little uncomfortable, force him to pass.
Zach.
What a crappy team to start against for your first time against that defense who has been lights out. I think Jalen Hurts is gonna hurt a little bit after that one, and Taysom Hill is gonna use those big tree trunk legs and run a few in. So yeah, I don't think it's a big W for the Eagles. I think this is a horrible team to start your first NFL start
Also,
against.
Doug
this is
Peterson
my
happily starts them against the Saints.
yeah. This is my promise to this podcast and our listeners. We will ease up on the Hurts puns. We got to get them out now because it's opportune now. But in 3 weeks from now, if we're still using them, you can send us. It'll hurt. Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Justin Doyle, Washington football team versus Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Justin, I wish I had that much confidence in the Washington football team. And what a story it would be, Alex Smith against his former team.
Holy crap.
I do not see it happening. Zach, to you for your take.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think Washington's at, that turning point right now. They don't have enough on offense to do it yet. That defense is looking scary, but playoffs are a different animal, and they have some pieces there to make maybe a run, but I don't think it's going to be far enough to a Super Bowl at all.
Auzzie?
Yeah. I screwed up and made Doyle. I had to go to give Justin some coffee and Timbits because I bet against my own Washington football team last week. But Justin, I can't get behind this one too. I'd bet another double in Timbits on this one that it doesn't happen.
Hey, maybe they sign Dak next year and then we can start talking Super Bowl aspirations. All right, Tomac, the Ravens covered tonight. I'm assuming he means the spread, which I'm not even sure what that was at before the Cowboys game, but it looks like right now they are still
they're up 20,
winning.
13.
They're winning 23-10. Yeah, it looks like this one's going to be pretty well finito. So I don't know what the spread was. If it was like 12 points, then they're pretty close to doing that.
I don't know what it was either. I wasn't looking
I'll
at
take
it.
a quick gander. We can go to the next one.
Okay. Austin Doyle, the Steelers are going to drop their three games straight. So what's next on the docket for them, guys? I should have pulled this up beforehand.
Wow, they just started covering now. They were a 14-point favorite. And they just got the point after, so they're up 14. So
wow,
Tomac. That was a heavy favorite.
All right, the Steelers' next two games are at the Bills and at the Bengals. I don't know if Austin Doyle meant the next three games or if he means like two more, meaning that they'll have lost three straight. But we'll go one more for the sake of argument, and they play the Colts. I can't see them losing that Bengals game. Austin Doyle, I'm going to have to disagree. Auzzie, thoughts on the Steelers losing three straight?
Ooh, as much as I'd love to, I don't think Brandon Allen is going to lead the Bengals over the Steelers. I still believe in the Steelers that much.
Zach?
I know Austin's he's been talking to me a lot, so I think maybe I'm going to correct it. I think he means out of the last four games, they're going to drop three of them. That's what he's kind of telling me. But no, if it's the next three, they're going to put a stomp on the Bengals and everyone's going to get stiff for them again. But there are some potential losses coming up in the Steelers.
They're next.
Browns could win that division if all breaks right.
I'm not going to.
Don't say it. You said it. You got to knock on wood. Zach, knock on that clock again. I want that to fall during an episode. Just how hilarious would that be?
It would break, and I would have to go.
I'll take it out of the amateur agency account. That doesn't exist. Okay, Luke, who I thought was a Panthers fan, but I think he's a Cam Newton fan.
I think he's an Austin fan.
Well, if you want to get cocky about it. He says the Pats are winning the Super Bowl.
I'm just kidding.
Luke, please rewind this episode about 2.5 minutes and you'll know our thoughts on that. Auzzie, thoughts on Luke's take?
I'm going to be a Luke fan after this one. If the Pats make it to the playoffs, dude, they're winning the Super Bowl. Hands down. Hands down. If they go on a run, they're running the table, baby.
Here's the sad thing about that one. They'd have to meet the Browns, and the Browns wouldn't let them pass for whatever the Pats are trying to do right now. So sorry, buddy. No, Luke, I just want
to be a nice matchup.
Is Luke the one who always went against me when I was talking Cam Newton?
Oh yeah, because you were a Cam hater.
Luke, come on, man. We'll talk about this later, okay?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk in the DMs, Luke.
We'll
I'll be
DM.
backing you up. Austin will be backing you up. Not for this take, but for Cam.
Even
And
though
lastly,
69 throwing yards last game,
And the 3 interceptions.
It's still
on
Cam.
15 throws.
69. Lastly, we have Mason Flagel. He says, give me credit for my Jalen Hurts take. Flagel, I believe, messaged us back in October saying Wentz would be benched. Mason, you didn't say please, so I can't give you credit. Auzzie, any thoughts on that, Zach?
Me? Well, me
You
first?
said
Anyone,
Auzzie,
any guys.
you
Sorry,
said
I was
Auzzie and Zach.
really
Zach, you
quick.
go.
Me? Yeah, Mason. Wentz has been struggling a lot. I think credit, my man. You got that one.
Heck
Auzzie?
yeah, Mace. Battle Mace strikes again. He swung and he hit true.
There we go.
That was
Next
a
time,
good
just
take.
some P's and Q's, Mason, and we'll give you full credit. Even though these guys doesn't care to these guys, doesn't matter. Canadian corner, fellas. Time for Canadian corner, eh? I was listening to some of our old episodes, and yeah, I remember that. And I can't believe we reverted to that, but hey, it works, and the people love it, I think. Anyways, guys, some exciting news. The CFL has allowed teams to begin re-signing players to their roster, and teams are more likely to be hovering towards the cap floor, which is around 4.75 million, than the cap ceiling, which I think is 5.3 or 5.6.
I thought it was 5.7. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Anyways, guys, there are 327 pending CFL free agents. Montreal has the most with 48. Toronto has the least with 22. Zach, look at you guys go, which is good for Toronto with a team that has a lot of, or has had a lot of instability, but now has Dinwiddie as their head coach, which I'm looking forward to. He's kind of like it's almost like the Shanahan of the CFL. I'm kind of looking forward to see what he does with that offense. And Pinball as a GM. And then they got John Murphy from Saskatchewan, who also helped build those successful Calgary teams. So they got a pretty stable thing going on there. Montreal in 2019 had that Cinderella run and turning around the franchise. It ended, unfortunately, in the East semifinal to Edmonton, where Trevor Harris just decided to go beast mode and miss like 2 passes that whole game. 48 free agents, Auzzie. That's a lot to overcome. Are you nervous at all? Or do you think they're going to be able to re-sign those boys?
Am I nervous, Steve? Yeah, I'm nervous. Like, try to re-sign your whole roster. You need 53 guys or whatever it is in the CFL. Like, nice. Let's just try to. No wonder why friggin' Trevor Harris lit our asses up in the East final.
Am I nervous?
Yeah, I'm nervous. Goddamn right, I'm nervous. They might be signing us to 1-year deals if they don't get those guys back.
Well, yeah, we might as well put our name in the pot at this point. There's 327. Might as well make it 330, and just we'll play for cheaper. We'll keep it around the cap floor for sure.
Let's see if
we'll play safety at this point.
Let's see if Kamar will train us this offseason and get us into shape, and then hopefully by May we can go make a run at it. Well, actually, that's too late. The CFL free agency opens up February 9th. So we have 2 months to get into shape.
Let's go.
This isn't looking good. I hope that we've got new ownership. I don't know how deep the pockets are after buying the team, but, and with COVID. So hopefully they've got some money to spend, because I've got the Alouettes and the Rough Riders in the Grey Cup next year. So
there you go.
I need the boys to spend and get some good free agents.
Good news for Auzzie. Vernon Adams is still under contract. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Not as many on the list as your Alouettes, Auzzie, but big names. Shaq Evans, who had great rapport with Cody Fajardo. LJ McRae, who had a great season opposite of Nick Marshall at corner. Charleston Hughes, we all know him, legendary pass rusher. Kyron Moore, speedster receiver. Ed Gainey, one of the best DBs in the CFL. And William Powell, their starting running back. So, it's not all sunshine and roses here in Saskatchewan either, Auzzie. We still have things to worry about. Okay, we can't all just be worried about the Alouettes. So I'm just happy to be talking CFL again, guys. It's kind of fun, and I'm cautiously optimistic. Schedule released. We're actually talking business now and not just the future of the league. I'm hoping they're handling all that crap, but important matters. But I want to talk about the game, man, not CBA agreements. Oh,
I was thinking about this yesterday. Once hopefully we can get our act together as and maybe a vaccine helps out, and we can get tailgate going to the Stampeders game. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was just getting amped up. CFL football, man.
That'll be awesome.
It hits different.
It hits different. That's totally right, Auzzie. That should be their slogan, man. And so it used to be in the 90s, it used to be our balls are bigger because the CFL ball is bigger, but it's time to upgrade that slogan. It used to be, I think it's still, I don't know what it is. This is our league. It was for a long time, which was cool heritage thing, but it's 2020. It's time to start reaching out to the millennials or Zeners or Zennials, the Gen Zers. CFL football, it just fucking hits different, man. And just a little stamp of approval like that.
Hey,
Heck yeah.
guys, what about
we start a movement?
Yeah, we could start right here on the amateur agency, or we could take it and be like, the amateur agency, it hits different.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll start writing up maybe clean. Okay, ours, the amateur agency is it fucking hits different. But for the CFL, it just hits different. We will take the swear out because we still
We'll start a
kids.
hashtag. Listeners, if you're listening, add us and hashtag it hits different.
It hits different. Yeah, let's start the movement. Okay, guys, I think we're almost pushing over an hour here. Probably, but you know what? People love it. Week 14 games to watch. I'm losing my mind. I got CFL on the brain. I got NFL on the brain. The Seahawks are making me sad.
We're pushing an hour.
We're pushing an hour. I'm getting tired. My mouth is dry. I got to pee. The 6-6 Patriots are playing the 8-4 Rams. Auzzie, you alluded to this as a game the Patriots might steal. Are you going to stick to your guns here? You don't have to give a score prediction, just kind of which way you're leaning.
You know where I'm leaning. I got the Patriots here. I think on a short week, I like our chances, especially. I think that does favor us a little bit more. And as a result, I'm going the Patriots. I had already touched on some of these points in my prior analysis of the Pats. So I'm just going to give my score prediction. I'll go 23-17 Pats.
All right. Zachary, what are you taking in this Thursday night showdown?
Rams. I alluded to that earlier. Sorry, Auzzie, not to just go against you here. I think the Rams are the more complete team. As I alluded to as well, last time they played was in the Super Bowl. Now it's time to see how the tides have turned. And I think that defense is playing on a whole different level this go around. They're like top 10 in everything, top 5 in some categories. I think it's going to be really hard for Cam and that offense to move. They have great run defense. And I think Jared Goff is coming with a few bags of Lays on his shoulders and wants to show that he can play against a Bill Belichick defense.
I think out to tie break here, I'm going to lean towards the Rams here, but I think it's going to be really close. I don't know if we're going to see, I mean, the Super Bowl's close. It was 13-3, but I don't think we're going to see you're not going to see Goff throw for 4 touchdowns. You're also not going to see Cam Newton run wild. I think it's going to be another kind of ugly game. Probably, like a 20-16 kind of gross game,
Hey, sorry. I just wanted to say, after you said the 13-3 Super Bowl, how shitty of a Super Bowl that was. I just want to say that quickly.
Oh no, because according to Pats fans, you just have to appreciate good defense.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So good.
If your team's not in it, there's definitely no way that was enjoyable. But there's some enjoyment in there.
There's beauty in the madness.
Yeah.
The 6-6 Vikings, Zach, who we were super high on and nearly gave me a heart attack for making us look stupid, almost losing to the Jaguars, are traveling to play the 7-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming off a bye week and a disappointing loss the week before. I think they were losers of 2 straight. I got to go right to you, Zach. Are you still riding the Vikings wave of confidence? Or do you think Tom asserts himself again in this game against the Vikings defense that's starting to find its footing, but it could be too little too late against a team with this much talent?
Well, here's an interesting thing for you guys. The Bucs have been better on the road than they have been at home this year. Inconsistencies at home have been a big thing with the Bucs. However, you alluded to it. Brady's coming off a loss. He usually looks good after those, and they're playing at home after a bye. Unfortunately, I'm leaning towards the Bucs here, and I feel like they're going to win, but I want the Vikings to win. And Kirk Cousins has looked like a man on fire and hopefully can outplay Brady here.
Auzzie, are you going with old boy Tom, or are you leaning towards the Vikings?
Yeah, last week that I was on, a couple weeks ago, I guess the last episode I was on, I should say, I had said that the Vikings could very realistically win out with their remaining schedule because of how inconsistent the Buccaneers are. Having said that, I also forgot that Kirk Cousins really relies on a run game to be successful, and the Bucs are one of the better run defenses in the league. And as a result, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Vikings as of right now. I hope that they prove me wrong. Kirk has been slinging the ball like Justin Jefferson, whole other level. Adam Thielen, always been great. I do really like that offense, but I just think it runs too reliant on the run game. It's contrary to the Seahawks. And so I think that the Bucs are going to edge this one out, but I don't know what to expect out of them after a bye. Like, this team has just been super, super weird, but I'll take the Bucs 27-20.
I'm rooting for the Vikings so bad, but I just see the Bucs coming into this one and just, this could look like the Packers game, honestly. I don't know how ugly you could get, but if they stifle Dalvin Cook and all of a sudden Kirk's a little flustered and he's trying to force the ball at Jefferson, that I don't like. If they're able to get some kind of balanced offense going at the start and that defense can hold Tom Brady at bay, you know, maybe just to a touchdown in the first quarter kind of thing, as opposed to it getting off to like a 14-3 start, I'll give them a shot, but I'm not confident that the Vikings can do that. But I've also picked against the Vikings up until before last week quite a few times, and they've proven me wrong. But I'm leaning towards the Bucs in this one. Zach, you have something?
Yeah, it also scares me. This feels like one of those games where Brady's going to come back, and all the Brady fans can then be like, "Hey, he was never gone." Afterwards,
we're still here.
Yeah. Just because like throughout the year, like the defense has been getting better for the Vikings, but their secondary has been a struggle most of it, and with the weapons that are with the Buccaneers, Brady could have a heyday here. So all you Pats fans can't come out afterwards and be like, "Oh, Zach said it. Zach knows." So
Zach called it. So
don't bother Zach. It's let him enjoy his night.
Steve, I'll be bothering you on next week's pod.
Sounds great. That's why I drink. Okay, we got the 8-4 Colts traveling to the 7-5 Raiders. I hope no one takes that seriously. I'm fine. Okay, the 8-4 Colts at the 7-5 Raiders. This Raiders team, since Zach's like ready to burst out laughing right now. This Raiders team, guys, since the episode how we commended them on such a beautiful rebuild, have just proceeded to shit the bed in their next couple of games. That Falcons one was ugly. That Jets game, I mean, if you take away the cover zero blitz that Greg Williams dialed up, we might be talking about them as a 6-6 team right now. I'm absolutely leaning towards the Colts. The Colts have been inconsistent, but not as scarily inconsistent as the 7-5 Raiders. So I'm leaning towards the Colts on this one. I'm not sure how close it'll be. If that Colts defense is able to start giving Derek Carr some problems, we could be looking at another Falcons score kind of game. Just saying. Ozzie, which way are you leaning in this Colts Raiders game?
Yeah, I wasn't on to defend the Colts after their trouncing from the Titans. I'm not going to get into that, but I wanted to make it known that it wasn't that bad. I still have total confidence in this Colts team with Buckner back. I think Danico Autry is back as well. So they're going to be able to stop Josh Jacobs if he's back. Certainly Devontae Booker. And this team, again, a team that really has found success in the running game. I think that if you can slow any half of a team's offense down, it goes without saying they're going to struggle. So the Colts are just perfectly equipped to shut down this Raiders run attack. And as a result, I've got this one going the Colts way 31-20.
31-20 for the Colts. All right, Zach.
Yeah, guys, I unfortunately have the Colts. It's really weird. The Raiders are another one like the Buccaneers who struggle at home. It's like they're playing on the road. We'll get like a really good game out of them at home and then a really shitty one and then another really shitty one. And then they'll look okay again back at home. It's just really weird. And the Colts, I hate going for the Colts too, because you guys love them so much. And I'm the one guy on this pod who's like, it's such a weird team. And their inconsistencies, like, I don't know, to me are outweighed. But I do like their defense. I like the pieces they have. And I think with the struggles of the Raiders, the Colts have an opportunity here to assert themselves, show them who's boss. And there's potential there for that victory. I'm leaning more towards the Colts.
Okay. And we have presumably the Ravens will be improving to 7-5, going up against, they're up 24-10 right now on the Cowboys, start of the fourth as of recording time, going up against the 9-3 Browns. For all you Ravens fans out there that give me hell or that I see, is this considered a big primetime game? Yes. This Monday night matchup against the Browns, who we just called a Super Bowl contender in some respects, is considered a big time game. And will the Ravens show up? No, they won't. They'll proceed to choke it away because Tuesday night football is not a big time game. You are playing the Dallas Cowboys led by a backup quarterback. But next Monday, you'll be playing Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns and a well-balanced offense and not Andy Dalton. And you will lose, and you will lose pretty convincingly. So I'm taking the Browns by at least 10 points. Zach, it's your team. We'll go right to you.
Yeah, man, I'm on my Browns hype now. I'm excited for this one because we know how Baker likes to play with the lays on his shoulders, and he's going to come in there after what they did in that first week. He's going to have, I think it's now is the Baker redemption tour, and it's going to start happening after that Tennessee game. And we're going to see what the Browns are bringing to the table here. Defense is getting healthier. That's scary. They're going to force turnovers on a team that has actually been turning the ball over quite a bit in the Baltimore Ravens. And that running game with Chubb and Kareem Hunt is going to play at a whole different level now that they've been running consistently for 12 games, other than the ones that Chubb was out. Kareem still played all right in those games. And Baker is going to show everyone that he is better than the haters are saying. And we are going to win at home against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Auzzie, are you getting on the Baker Redemption tour bus? Are you getting on? There's plenty of room. There's lots of Lay's chips, as Zach has alluded to. So plenty of snacks to be had, refreshments included. Are you getting on the bus?
Yeah. So contrary to me sounding like a Baker and Browns Grinch earlier, I'm gonna hop on with you guys because Zach had spoke earlier. Zach had touched on earlier about building a team from the trenches. And I think the Browns have a top 2 pass blocking grade and a top 2 run blocking grade in the NFL. So that is the epitome of building in the trenches. And that is impressive. You've got, Zach mentioned it, the 1-2 punch of Chubb and Hunt. That's going to start opening up some passing attack for Baker, and it's going to be feast time for those Browns. Get some redemption and help the Pats out in the process too. I'm going to throw that in there.
Zach,
quickly want to say, with that being said, everything's looking good on the O-line for the Browns, except Wyatt Teller just went on the COVID list. And for those who don't know who Wyatt Teller is, for the listeners, he is a guy we got last year. He was very underrated last year. Put him in this year, and he's playing as one of the top guards in the league right now. So it's a big loss, but that's not going to destroy our hopes here. We're still going to go and just show those Baltimore Ravens what it's all about in the AFC North.
for our listeners at home, are you getting on the Baker Bus Redemption Tour? We'll find a better name than that. The Baker Redemption Tour.
You just got to call it the Baker Bus.
The Baker Bus. Are you getting on the Baker Bus?
Baker Bus.
Episode 91, the Baker Bus.
Ooh.
There we go. That's got a ring to it.
Or it just hits different. We'll come up with that after the episode. For now, you can follow me on Twitter at SteveBullen22. Oh, Zach, you had something to say.
The Baker Bus, it hits different.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Full circle, baby. All right. Ravens fans, do not at me at SteveBullen22. I will ignore your cries after you proceed to fall to 7-6 when you lose to the Browns next week on Monday Night Football. But you can go talk to Zach on Twitter. I'm sure he'll be happy to field your requests. Zach, where can the fine folks find you?
And when that happens, please come find me on Instagram and on Twitter on Instagram at ZachFoth _ and Twitter at ZachFoth. I would love to talk to you guys after what I had to go through last year.
Auzzie, after your brief hiatus from the pod, where can the fine folks find you?
Well, fine folks, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AustinPaul _ Austin with a Y, not an I. You can also catch the Fantasy Football for Dummies by Dummies fantasy football show on Saturdays.
You guys have been killing that, by the way, along with your partner, Brandon LaChapelle, giving hot fantasy football advice for everyone out there. Don't know why hot was the right word. Good fantasy football advice.
Sexy.
That's pretty hot too.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as your mugs are up there, it's a good time. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay tuned for episode 92. It'll be a good one, just as this one was. Godspeed.